Hey guys, this is Nathan. This is my submission for the IPv6 demonstration. I'm just going to show you a real simple way to configure an IPv6 access list using the new protocol. I got a really simple network layout here. I got two PC endpoints here on this subnet and then another one on the other subnet. This is subnet 2001, 1000, 1000A, and the other is 2001, 1000B. So here's PC6. I'm going to show you that there is a working connection between PC6 and PC5. So this is the IPv6 address of PC5. I'm just going to do a quick ping on this end just to show that there is a working network at the moment. And then these two C4, I'm going to ping the same host. Okay, so right now we're showing that there is a working connection between these two subnets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an access list to block PC4 from communicating to PC5. So I'm going to go ahead and get into my router here, go to the command line. I'm going to expand this to make it a little easier to see. Okay, I'm going to go into configuration mode, which we all know how to do at this point. Now, here's the main thing about configuring an IPv6 access list. Normally, when we configure an access list, we go into here like we normally do, access list, except when you're doing an IPv6 access list, you have to explicitly express that in your command line. So we have to do IPv6, and you see here access list is still an option, so we'll go ahead and enter that in. Now, one thing to take away from IPv6 access list, there is no more standard or extended access lists in IPv6. All IPv6 access lists have the same functionality as an extended access list. Another thing too is access lists are no longer numbered. You can actually use a word, which really helps in documentation so things don't get confusing. You can still use numbers, but you're encouraged to use words. So for my access list, I'll just call it block. Okay. Now we can write lines where we deny the access list. Now in IPv6 access list, there is still an explicit deny any at the bottom of the list. So that being said, if we want to block PC4 to communicate to PC5, we would just add this to gig Ethernet 01 and it'll work, but it would also block PC6. So all we really need to do is enter lines that would permit PC6 to communicate to PC5. So hit the question mark here. Here we are. We'll do permit as an option. And again, you have to explicitly say it's an IPv6. And there's two options that we can do here. One, you can just enter host and then enter in the IPv6 address. Another way we can do it is to use the actual IPv6 address with the CIDR. Now, that being said, in access lists for IPv6, there's no more wildcards. You do not have to express through the wildcard notation which bits are significant and which aren't. Instead, you'd use a CIDR. So to keep things simple though, I'll just say host. And then I'll grab the IPv6 address of this host here. Leaving out the CIDR. Again, we don't need the CIDR because we've already expressed that this is a host. Okay. Add another question mark, and now it's asking for the destination. So we want to permit this computer to speak to PC5. So we'll just grab the IPv6 address of PC5, put it in there, and let's see here. What we need to do is we need to express this as a host as well. Okay. So now, like a normal IPv4 access list, we have to assign it to an interface, otherwise it's completely pointless. So we'll do the same thing here. Now, since we want to block PC4 from communicating over this network, we still want it to talk to its own gateway. So we wouldn't apply it to gig 00. We'll apply it to gig Ethernet 01. So we'll end out of this, go back into config T, interface 0/1. Okay. Now another thing to take away from this too, it's important to express that you're applying an IPv6 access list. If we bring this up, you'll see here there's IP and then IPv6. So we want to make sure again that we're saying IPv6. Now notice it's called something different in IPv6. In IPv4, it would say access group, but instead we call it traffic filter in IPv6. So we'll go ahead and enter in that command. And again, question mark, and now it's asking for the name of the access list that we want to apply. The name is block. And like in IPv4, we also need to express the direction of the packet flowing. So since we want to block PC4 from going out into this subnet, we need to apply out. Okay? So that's in there. We'll go back out. We'll do the same command as we did before, and we'll get destination host unreachable. Now it's important that it says unreachable, because if we received a result that said request timed out, that's not the result we wanted. We want host unreachable, because this is the address of the gateway. So the gateway knows where it's trying to get to, but the gateway is saying, hey, you're not allowed to go there. Destination host unreachable instead of timed out. We'll go back to PC6. We'll do the same command, and we'll notice that communication is still flowing. So the thing to take away from this is in IPv6 access list, there are no more wildcards. You're expressing it either by saying host or by using CIDR. So let's say, for an example, if you wanted to permit this subnet 2001 1000 1000A, and doesn't matter anything else after that, you would do 2001 1000 1000A : /64. So if you don't need to express a host, you can do it that way. The other thing to take away from IPv6 access lists by numbers, there's no more standard and there's no more extended. All IPv6 access lists have the same functionality as an extended access list, and you don't need to identify it by numbers. You can still use words. So thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful, and IPv6 is an excellent protocol, and it's going to make access listing in the future much more simple.